As the wind does blow across the trees, I see the buds blooming in May. Falling to the ground, I watch a leaf settle down in a bed of brown. These poems are known as haikus. They have a very specific number of syllables that are allowed, which forces poets to think hard about how to express their observations with a limited number of words. In debate, it's typical to use the term word economy when referring to the art of saying more with less. There are several ways to improve the way arguments are presented in debate so that they are more concise, efficient, while simultaneously making them simply sound better. Every argument could be presented in a number of ways, some more efficient than others. This video will explain several techniques for improving word economy. The first one we call power tagging. Every major argument should have its own label. Think of these labels as the titles you give your arguments. If you simply use numbers as the titles to your arguments, then they aren't likely to be very memorable. The titles you choose should contain 1 to 3 words which generally explain or summarize the most important part of that argument. If the argument seeks to show economic benefits of a plan, the advantage tagline should simply be economics. This may seem obvious or repetitive, but simple taglines allow debaters to navigate the arguments between arguments easily. You can call the same argument deficit spending, housing bubble, or Second Great Depression, depending on the economic story that you want to tell. A simple power tag can bolster any major argument by giving it an identity, thereby making it more memorable. Closely related to power tagging is a technique commonly known as signposting. This is another way to keep organized while delivering arguments by simply numbering the sections within arguments. Think of signposting as verbally bullet pointing arguments. Typically, signposting will consist of labeling major arguments. Advantages, disadvantages. Debaters literally say subpoint A and subpoint B throughout their speech. Remember, your judge is working really hard to listen, so this technique helps to maintain order, dividing arguments up to be understood in sequence. It also makes it very easy to refer back to previous speeches when you go into rebuttals. It is very obvious what you intend to refute if you say, I have 2 responses to subpoint B of their disadvantage. This type of language increases efficiency and also makes clear where you want your analysis to be placed. The next technique to consider is time allocation. First, a very simple goal. Use all of your time every time. If the speech is 8 minutes, speak for 8 minutes. Debaters prepare arguments and should be excited to deliver them. Rarely is a concept or idea thoughtfully discussed in a sentence or two. Slow down your speed to increase clarity and allow your brain time to think about what you are saying. Second, save enough time for all arguments. Because every speech has a specific time limit, it is important not to put more of your effort into one argument because it will reduce the amount of time that you can devote to others. When a speaker spends 80% of the time speaking on one argument but has 4 to deliver, the speaker will not be able to explain each one adequately. Third, don't repeat arguments. Once a point or argument is made, there is no need to continue explaining it. Sometimes speakers will get carried away in one argument and rephrase their idea 3 times before moving on. This is risky because your audience might not think that argument you're devoting so much time to is as good as you think it is. Once you think the audience understands the argument, move on to something new. A good time manager will know how many arguments they plan on making and how much time they have to deliver them. Some arguments might require more time than others, but don't get carried away. Important arguments central to the debate must be exhaustively refuted. They could give as much time to as many arguments as is allowed. By allocating time or planning ahead, speeches will sound much more organized and deliberate, both features of a good persuasive performance. The last technique worth covering is a technique that is notorious in the debate community and has come to be known as spreading. More simply, speaking at an unusually fast pace. Debaters have been known to speak in excess of 300 words a minute, where average conversational speed is about 120. This is not at all common for beginning debaters, but it can still be intimidating to hear somebody speaking like an auctioneer. The strategy of spreaders overwhelm their opponents with arguments. Spreading is a numbers game, simple math. If I make 10 arguments and you can only respond to 3, then I can argue that the 7 dropped arguments should win the round. If you are not the best at speaking fast, you can still manage a quick opponent by lumping simple arguments together and answering them collectively without increasing your pace. This is what many debaters call the lump and dump procedure. Keep in mind that judging preference is a factor in whether speed will be tolerated. For beginners, speed is something that should only come with practice and firm understanding of arguments. Simply talking really fast will never win a debate if it's nonsensical and incoherent. Start small, start slow, and work your way up. Techniques like these enhance your ability as a speaker. Power tags, time management, and speed. All things that a debater can work on to improve their word economy. Debate is a language game, so don't be afraid to play with words. There is always another way to represent an idea through other words, just like the challenge of representing complex and sophisticated ideas with a minimal amount of syllables. I leave you with this haiku. It's my favorite when competent debaters choose their words wisely.